welcome. Always a pleasure to be here. What I want to talk today about is forgiveness and the law of forgiveness. So the law of forgiveness states that we cannot be forgiven until we forgive others. As long as we harbor negative thoughts of anger, judgment, hatred, and intolerance against others, we cannot be happy simply because while we harbor those feelings, we feel the results of them. To be happy and free, we have to give up all unforgiving thoughts. Now, Jesus taught this law above all others and put it predominantly in the Lord's Prayer. Not once, but twice. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive others, or as we forgive those who trespass against us. And the second part, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. He knew that all of our problems came from our judgments of others and their behavior. And that's a common, I would say, it's life. It's a common experience of life to judge others. And I have a mentor who would say that the only difference between observation and judgment is that judgment has the association of right attached to it. So before we come rushing into judgment, just observe the situation first. Take a step back, think about it, and then make your action, either in words or deeds. The subconscious mind listens to all of our thoughts, and it cannot separate the thoughts we think about others and from the thoughts we think about ourselves. Thoughts are thoughts for the subconscious, and all are responded equally. Our mind is always recording our feelings. And anger is anger, hatred is hatred, and while you're producing it, you are feeling it. Feelings create chemical reactions in our body, and then negative hormones flood through our bodies, and every cell of your body is being bathed in the hormones that will make you get sick or get old. And we have to look at that. It is to being in a calm, reserved manner, that observation type. And there's a lot of things that need to be forgiven for ourselves and for others. And think about gossiping. How many people have had to forgive people because they said negative things about you that weren't even true? And this happened in my work experience many times. Working at a university, is how many terrible things could I have done? It's your fault. I'm walking across a parking lot one time, and this university was in Michigan, and there were a lot of power outages that we had due to lightning strikes. And I worked in telecommunications, so we had a diesel generator to back up all our stuff. So I turned that on one day, and the director of Public Works was walking across the parking lot. And all I said to him is, we got a little brownout here. And so then, for some reason, I caused that brownout by turning on our generator. It's like, Okay, so he was forgiven for not understanding, but we have to forgive people. But it did go through a little rumor trail there at the university. So we got to be careful of that. And we also have to, what I say with forgiveness, besides forgiving the other person, we have to set the record straight. Right? Casadega Spiritualist Camp has the same rumor mill, if you might want to say it there. But if you set the record straight, then it's more as if you're taking the high road. And we have to take the high road as a spiritualist. And as we take this high road, as we climb this road, then there are certain people who fall off it because they can't reach our vibrations. And with these people, if they're too negative in your life, you're going to have to release them. Forgiveness is not about the other person. Forgiveness is for you, and it is to heal you. You may feel justified in holding on to unforgiveness against others, or feel that you have every right to hold on to your anger, but you must ask yourselves, who am I hurting when I hold this anger and this unforgiveness? And you know what that answer is. It's all of us. It's you. It's me. We can't hold on to that unforgiveness. The person or those people who have hurt you in the past, but holding on to the unforgiveness means that you carry on hurting yourself. Every time you relive the event and feel the feelings, forgive and you will be forgiving. But every time you relive the event and feel the feelings. Now, there is something about forgiving and forgetting. Okay? We don't want to relive that experience because it will bring through that anger, it'll release the negative hormones, and we'll just get nauseated or sick. Right? Practice forgiving and forgetting. It is a hard thing to do. I'm on I-4 going across the state about a month ago, and something hit me, what happened 30 years ago, and I was pissed. All right? All those negative hormones just coming right in. And I had thought I had forgotten about it. But our subconscious mind can be tricky. And when that happens, my mentor, James Thomas, would say, erase, 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 or cancel, cancel, cancel. It's like those thoughts have no place in our minds. The word forgive is a two-syllable word, for and give. And when you forgive, it simply means that you give up being angry and intolerant, and you replace it for something new. Perhaps peace and harmony. But when we give up judgment and hatred and replace it for something else, then the law of forgiveness, or then you are free. And the law of forgiveness is vindicative, and not that the law of forgiveness will be vindicative or spiteful or wants to hold something against you. It's just that all the while you are holding on to unforgiveness, you cannot be forgiven. So unforgiveness in the heart has no place. The universe or God or infinite intelligence is not trying to punish you. You're doing it to yourself. If you are finding it difficult to forgive, or you feel fully justified or entitled to be aggravated, ask yourself, would I rather be right or would I rather be happy? Okay. So we can be justified in our anger sometimes, but is it worth it? Okay. That's the question. We want to be happy, and happiness is releasing that unforgiveness. If you would rather be right, then just carry on what you're doing. But you have to remember that forgiving clears karmic debt. And when you truly forgive others, you feel free. And when you look in the Bible at the Lord's Prayer, Matthew's version, it says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And what are you doing? Relieving that. You're getting rid of that karmic debt. You too can be forgiven when you feel true and general remorse for the transgressions that have been made. When you will know in your heart that you have changed, and you can truly say that the new you would always be faithful, honest, and kind when you use forgiveness. But we have to look at remorse. You know, part of it is the thing that we have to do is forgive ourselves. Because we don't really want to be kicking our butt for coulda, woulda, shoulda stuff. That's all about remorse. So sometimes we have to forgive ourselves. So why is it so easy to hold a grudge? How many people have grudges? I got an older brother I've forgiven. He still holds a grudge against me. So I don't understand. I forgave him and he didn't accept. You know, he didn't accept my forgiveness. And he actually berated me a couple of times after that. And you just have to let it go. When you don't accept forgiveness, you're going to double that karmic debt. And I can guarantee you that. Being hurt by someone, particularly someone you love and trust, can cause anger, sadness, and confusion. If you dwell on the events or situation, grudges filled with resentment, vengeance, and hostility can take root. If you allow negative feelings to crowd out positive feelings, you might find yourself swallowed up by your own bitterness or sense of injustice. So you have to, why do we resent people? All right? Why do we dwell on these hurtful events? Right? We're spiritualists, right? So sometimes it's hard to find a spiritual person in a spiritualist camp. Okay. So we have to be spiritual. We have to take that high road. Some people, as you notice, are more forgiving than others. But even if you're a grudge holder, almost anyone can learn to be forgiving. But forgiving also means, all right, you're letting go of the situation. But if you are right, you have to stand up by your principles. And you have, it's what we call holding on to our ego. And some people would say we need to release our ego and take this path of enlightenment. But everybody has an ego. We have to stand by our principles. We can forgive the people who have hurt us, but they should know why they're being forgiven. So, what are the effects of holding on to grudges? If you're unforgiving, you might bring anger and bitterness into every relationship and new experience. And if you're unforgiving of a person, and you go into a circle and they start talking about that person, the unforgiving person is going to belittle that person and make them feel like an ant. And I've seen that happen. These are the unforgiving people. They need to really get rid of that bitterness. And you can become so wrapped up in the wrong that you can't enjoy the present. Right? We've all seen these little temper tantrums with our little kids and stuff, not getting their way. But when you grow up to be an adult, that takes another step out of bounds, if you might want to put it that way. And these negative hormones can make us depressed or anxious. We can feel that our life has a lack of purpose. And we can lose valuable and enriching connectedness with others. You know, I had a friend who I had not known that, I had a good friendship for about 10 years, and then there was a disappearance of about 8 years there, and then he came back into my life. I said, what happened there? And it was all about gossip, right? And that he believed the other person until he woke up to the reality of that situation. So we always have to treat people as if they're a spiritual being in a physical body. That spiritualist person. Okay, so when we recognize the value of forgiveness, we can improve our lives. If you can't forgive, you're going to find yourself stuck. So practice empathy. Try seeing the situation from the other person's eyes or their point of view. I mean, it's just like gossiping. Unless you walked in those shoes, you probably know nothing about that person. And ask yourself why the other person would act in the way that they are acting. Perhaps you've even reacted similarly in a situation. And reflect on the times you've hurt others and those you've forgiven you in that particular situation. Right? We've all hurt others. Sometimes we don't even know we hurt others, just like my friend. Sometimes we can use a journal, we can pray, and we can meditate just to find that forgiveness, that sacred space within us, that God within us. And just be aware that forgiveness is a process. It takes time, small hurts versus big hurts. They practice forgiveness. Okay, and when we do that, then we'll get healthier. Our blood pressure will lower. We'll have fewer symptoms of depression, a stronger immune system, improved heart health, and especially improved self-esteem. Getting somebody else to change their actions, behavior, or words is not the point of forgiveness. Like I said with my brother, he didn't accept it. The point is that we are helping ourselves, and we're creating that happiness and that fulfillment for ourselves. Unforgiveness has no place in the heart, so practice it. And usually when you practice forgiveness, look at 3 situations that you need to forgive. Forgive yourself for being in the situation itself. Forgive yourself with God. And the third part, forgive the other person. Now, if it is painful to forgive the other person in person, face to face, then we're going to have to use our own thoughts. Thoughts are immediate. They're faster than light, and they are delivered by our angels and our guides. Right? So, practice with your thoughts. And those thoughts definitely are delivered. And I'm just going to have to say it. Forgiveness is something that is easier said than done. That's why we have to practice it. Meditate, meditate, meditate. And follow the golden rule. Do unto others as they would do unto you. And forgiveness is a two-way street for the most part. And I'll leave you with that message.